Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the beautiful National Botanical Gardens. We're so glad you could join us for the monumentous occasion, the launch of the Barbados chapter of the Green Rising Initiative. I'm Maria Marshall, UNICEF Youth Advocate for the Environment. And now I would like to introduce the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, SC MP, Prime Minister of Barbados. The Honorable Adrian Ford, Minister of the Environment, Mr. George Laria Ajay, Director of the UNICEF Program Group, Ms. Abibek Asefa, who is here representing as the Chargé d'Affaires High Commission of Canada in Barbados, and other members of the Diplomatic Corps, ministers, senators, and senior government officials, Senator Dr. Crystal Drakes, Mr. Abdul Kadir Muse, UNICEF representative for the Eastern Caribbean area, and other UNICEF colleagues, members of the Diplomatic Corps.
Mr. Kevin Frey, CEO of Generation Unlimited. Dr. Nadi Albino, Deputy Director, Partnerships, Generation Unlimited. Other Generation Unlimited colleagues. Ms. Gabrielle Gay, Sustainable Development Goals Champion in the Prime Minister's Office. Ms. Crystal Yearwood, Project Coordinator of the Sustainable Development Goal Unit, Prime Minister's Office. Akeem Chandler Prescott, poet and performer, youth ambassadors and representatives, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First, I think you can have a seat now, sorry. I am Kaylin Aline, a youth mental health activist here in Barbados. You're probably wondering, what is Green Rising? It's bold, it's innovative, and it's youth-centered. It will bring partners together to work for a brighter future for young people across Barbados, across the Caribbean, and across the world.
This flagship program is designed to put us as youth right at the heart of the blue-green transformation so we can develop skills and opportunities to create a better planet and a better life for ourselves.
Of course, when we look to the future, our future, we want to look at it with confidence and optimism, and Green Rising will help us do that. So, let's get to today's proceedings underway. We'll start with a very short overview of some details of exactly how Green Rising will transform lives and livelihoods for young people. Join me as I present Ms. Crystal Yearwood, Sustainable Development Goals Coordinator in the Prime Minister's Office.
Honorable Prime Minister, Mia Amor Motley, members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, heads of UN agencies, permanent secretaries, senior government officials, members of the civil society organizations, members of the press, teachers, students, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to the official launch of Green Rising in Barbados. Today is more than the beginning of a project. It is the continuation of a movement which puts the power of change into the hands of our youth. In partnership with UNICEF, Generation Unlimited, and the government of Barbados, and a whole coalition of stakeholders from across Barbados, Green Rising is a bold initiative which will span the next 3 years. It is designed to empower 5,000 young people across Barbados to become climate leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers. Green Rising answers a critical call. It is about preparing our youth now, not later, to lead the transition to a sustainable, inclusive, and green economy. With a total investment of $1 million, US dollars, that is, the program reaches those who are often left behind. This project focuses on youth who are not in employment, education, or training. It supports young women who remain underrepresented in green jobs and leadership roles. It also uplifts communities who are most often affected by the climate crisis. This program is built on 4 main pillars. The first is blue and green entrepreneurship, which will assist youth in creating and growing climate-smart businesses. The second is leadership and advocacy, where we will train young leaders to advocate for climate justice. Thirdly, is building community-based resilience by supporting youth-driven environmental projects at the local level. And finally, the fourth is ensuring digital access and innovation, ensuring our youth can thrive in a low-carbon digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this initiative reflects the spirit of Ubuntu, the belief in our shared humanity and our collective strength. It is fully aligned with Barbados' national development priorities, the Sustainable Development Goals, and our leadership on the global stage through the Bridgetown Initiative. To every young person here and across the island, Green Rising is for you. It is your platform to lead, to innovate, and to help build resilient communities and a green Barbados. We all want to see you lead. Your voice matters. Your leadership is not only welcomed, but it is needed. On behalf of the government of Barbados, I extend heartfelt thanks to UNICEF, our colleagues at Generation Unlimited, our community partners, and to every ministry and stakeholder who has helped bring this vision to life. May this initiative be the catalyst that we need to empower the communities. We hope it fuels bold action and it shapes a world where sustainability and justice are not only aspirations, but it is our lived reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yearwood, SDG Coordinator in the Prime Minister's Office. So now we're all in the loop. We would like to welcome Ms. Ababek Asefa, who is here representing as the Chargé d'Affaires High Commission of Canada in Barbados, to give remarks. Canada is one of the lead government partners for Green Rising.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Mia Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mr. George Larrier-Adjei, Director of Program UNICEF, Mr. Kevin Fry, CEO of Generation Unlimited, Mr. Abdul Kadir Mousse, UNICEF representative for the Eastern Caribbean, cabinet member, senior government officials, members of the diplomatic corps, representative of international organization, representative of civil society and youth, and other invited guests. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here today to bring you those remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada. And I have to say that it's a privilege for me to be here today as we reaffirm Canada's deep commitment to advancing opportunities for young people and taking action to address the climate crisis through our support to the Generation U partnership. Let me begin by thanking UNICEF and all the partners who are involved in organizing this important event and for your tireless effort to empower the next generation. Generation U, I think you will all agree, is much more than a program. It is a global platform that connects education, employment, and overall empowerment. And Canada is proud to stand alongside our partners in ensuring that every young person has a fair chance to learn, to earn, and to lead in this changing environment. We are particularly inspired by the momentum building around Green Rising, an initiative that gives young people the tools and opportunities to tackle one of the greatest challenges of our time, climate change, and to tackle climate change from the ground up. Green Rising creates pathways for green jobs, empowers youth leadership, and addresses the intersecting challenges of climate vulnerability and youth unemployment. This work, unfortunately, I don't have to remind you, is particularly important in regions like the Caribbean, where rising sea levels, strong storms, and shifting weather patterns threaten lives, livelihoods, and economies. Unfortunately, for many countries in the region, survival depends on building a more resilient and sustainable future. That is why, for many years, Canada has worked in close collaboration with many of you and other partners across the Caribbean to strengthen climate resilience. This includes support for early warning systems, gender-responsive disaster risk management, community-based adaptation and mitigation intervention, improved access to climate finance, and the conservation and critical of ecosystems and biodiversity. For all these initiatives, Canada's approach has always been firmly anchored in the principle of inclusion, equity, and gender equality, as we believe that climate resilience must be people-centered. It needs to respond to the diverse needs of all the communities. And for us, inclusion means listening to and including those most at risk in the planning and decision-making process that shapes their future. The Green Rising Initiative embodies this commitment and this approach, recognizes that while the challenges of climate change are profound, so too is the potential for youth-led innovation to address them. Canada deeply values its partnership with Barbados and with the wider Caribbean, and we remain committed to working together in pursuit of climate resilience, inclusive growth, and opportunity for all. Today, we also celebrate exceptional leadership. And on behalf of the Government of Canada, I would like to extend our warmest congratulations and thanks to Prime Minister Mia Mottley on her new role as the Global Chair for Green Rising. Canada is honored to be part of this collective journey, and alongside Prime Minister Mottley and all of you, we are willing to continue to work to shape a greener, more just society. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abibak Asefa, representing as the Charge d'Affaires, High Commission of Canada in Barbados. We truly appreciate your support and your country's.
To further get us into the right mood, we present this young man, one of our rising stars. He's an award-winning published poet, a musician, and an all-round cultural powerhouse. Here's Mr. Akeem Chandler Prescott, and he's written a poem especially for this Green Rising launch, entitled A Race Against the Clock. Let's enjoy!
Good morning, everyone. So this poem is called It's a Race Against the Clock. It's a race against the clock. And I wonder, should Mother Nature have aborted us in the beginning? Because sometimes it feels that we gave birth to some good-for-nothing children who are willing to see the bigger picture. Our image of the future crops out the drought-ridden farms. It seems to be formed from an idealistic angle that doesn't capture the climate's actual composition. Sometimes I wonder, is our image of the future developed with developing states in mind? Or is it framed within the global North's borders? If a picture can say 1,000 words, how many can an eroded Caribbean coastal landscape communicate to its viewer? When we imagine our image of the future, do we remove the waters polluted by our garbage? Choked by runoff, lungs blackened by oil spills, hawking up plastic with every cough. Does this blue life giver still battle fevers and feel fertilizer flushing through its veins? Will Mother Nature remain off-put by her own offspring? Sometimes we speak about the future as if promised by the lips of Father Time himself. And I'm sure every father wants his son to rise, but someday soon this sun will set on market day, because fresh produce will be as rare as the steak we clear forests for. We are far removed from being one with nature. Sometimes I think we are at war with nature. And every summer, she drops bombs that could blow craters into Caribbean economies. Therefore, we are all here today at Botanical Gardens because we understand the urgency in taking action. Action that leads to the transformation of potential into progress and entry-level knowledge into enterprise. Action that could drive innovation and ideas with a wide range of impact. We can't keep watching ecosystems fall apart and expect our way of life to remain intact. It's a race against the clock. And big man, we in the last lap, but at least we're on track for some of the SDG goals. And I know with Green Rising, we're striding with a little more hope. We are chasing growth in pursuit of sustainability, trying to close the gap between the conference room theory and the community discussion. So the man at the rum shop that could climb to the top of Mount Gay in one conversation could articulate to a degree how 2 degrees in temperature elevation could spell devastation for a coastal destination like Barbados. We need the average person to be conscious of the consequences. It can't just be academics arguing amongst themselves, because when this rundown planet run out of steam, I don't really think the man with the best argument gonna be of much help. We need action, paired with a phased implemented approach with a wide enough scope that they could coax the white boys from Codgerton and St. John, along with the black men from Deacon's Farm and Eden Lodge. We gotta rope in the scholars, the blue collars, and the entrepreneurs so we can grow both blue and green businesses with boomers and Gen Z. Because one can see seaweed and see fertilizer. The other can see seaweed and see animal feed and biofuel. When you got people from different backgrounds, you start to get different perspectives and different views. So when we target the youth, we are building a bridge between coral reefs and chalkboards, between solar panels and second chances, between knowledge and kilowatts that can light up homes still dark from the last hurricane. And we know hurricanes come blowing the winds of change. So we need Green Rising to be more than just a name. It gotta be a movement, a slogan with a skill set, a grant that could grow legs and walk to financial freedom, a grassroots investment watered by governmental assistance, a system shifting soul into sanctuary, turning barren ground into betterment for all. Green Rising has the best answering the call to take action, to build capacity with workshops that lead to works of wonder, works made from hands of a chosen handful, fully committed. We pass proposals. This gotta be a marriage, a promise to this planet. Till death do us part, we will do our part to safeguard this gem of the Caribbean Sea. We can't let it get seized in a heist of high emissions. We are on a mission of recovery, of regeneration, of re-education, of what it means to be a good neighbor, what it means to be a good son to Mother Nature. We can't be wayward anymore because it's a race against the clock. And with Green Rising, we gotta pass our finish line with time to go, with time to spare, with time to care for one another. Because if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, we got to go together. So we go forward as a family of forward thinkers, creating an image that is fully developed, fully framed with all the right issues, fully saturated with businesses green and blue, fully reflecting me and you, an image of the future that is fully green. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Akeem, for that very thought-provoking, emotional, insightful poem. Truly a cultural powerhouse, as Maria would have said. Moving on smartly, we're young and we like to keep things short and sweet. In that case, we now welcome Mr. George Laria Adjei, Director of the UNICEF Program Group, who will give his remarks. Thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister Mia Modley, distinguished guests, partners, youth, leaders, and friends. I must say, it's my first time in Barbados. I got here yesterday in the evening, and the connection for me is very strong. They say it's warm here, but I say it is home here. It's because I'm sure you all know where I come from. Maybe I come from far away, Accra, Ghana, but this is home. I'm feeling it and I'm enjoying it. So thank you. Thank you. And I bet I shall come again. And next time I shall not wear a tie. I speak to you on behalf of UNICEF today as a proud partner and as an unwavering and a committed ally. We share with you, Honorable Prime Minister and colleagues here, the fight for climate justice combined with livelihoods for young people, combined with empowerment for young people. Barbados, your influence is immense. You really punch hard and you punch well, and you've challenged all of us. And for this, we are grateful as UNICEF. Honorable Prime Minister, I've been told about Ocean Hub, and I would like to congratulate you once again, a strong push. We are with you on that journey as well. Barbados is the heart of a growing global movement. And our young poet, we heard you loud and clear. Green Rising shouldn't be in name only. Green Rising should be a movement. And Barbados is the heart of that movement. The goals are clear, the targets are clear, to activate thousands of young people across entrepreneurship, community-level action, and resilience building. Barbados, the way we see it, is that Barbados is not waiting for the world to act. Barbados is acting, and Barbados is leading. And UNICEF is proud to work alongside you as a committed partner. We have learned from your resolve, we have learned from your clarity and your commitment to climate justice as combined with youth empowerment. Green Rising began with a simple belief that young people are not victims of the crisis that we face. They are the leaders of the solutions that we seek. Today, that belief is global. Green Rising was launched, I believe, about a year and a half ago. If you remember, I remember it was in Dubai, I believe. Yeah, COP 28. And since then, 11 million young people are involved, taking action. The target, though, is to work with 40 million young people globally. But I must say, after hearing the young poet, I'm going to ask my colleagues to make it 100 million. It is possible. And I'm going to ask, in a very kind way, for Barbados, 5,000 to 12,000. Honorable Prime Minister, our head of office is here. And I think 12,000 is doable, AK. It's doable. Some achievements are emerging. So far, young people have planted 19.8 million trees. I know it's a fraction of what the world needs, but it is not a small thing. I'm sure there can be more. Young people are recycling waste. Young people are creating jobs out of it. Young people are harvesting rainwater. Young people are protecting our forests. Young people are restoring coastlines. In Maldives, I saw young people join clubs to go down to protect the coral reefs. They are forming clubs that evolve into businesses for tourists, but for themselves. Their work is not symbolic. Their work is real. So, Your Excellency, it is with deep gratitude that I stand before you to announce to our colleagues here your acceptance to be the Global Chair of Green Rising. We are deeply honored. We know with you we can achieve the new 100 million target. And we count on you drawing us together, giving us more marching orders in September, the UNGA. We count on you drawing us together, reviewing what is being done, calling your fellow heads of states, bringing them together at COP30 in Belém. We count on you holding us accountable and driving us to the wall. Kevin, the CEO, is nodding, and I'm glad he's nodding. We'll be held accountable. So, as chair, you bring to Green Rising what no one else can: the moral force of your voice, the power of your platform, and the boldness of your own vision. With your leadership, we will unlock new resources, forge new alliances, and build new pathways, especially for the young people too often left behind in the green transition. We would like more young women, more young men from rural areas to get engaged, to create opportunities for themselves, to earn an income from it, to combine the justice part with their own livelihoods opportunities. Green Rising is not only about environmental action, it's about economic justice and intergenerational solidarity. We are working to ensure that green and blue jobs are not a luxury for the few, but a right for the many. We are building something bold, and we are doing it together. Governments, partners, young people, private sector, all rising as one. So, Prime Minister Modley, thank you for your leadership and your partnership, your belief in what is possible. And to the people of Barbados, especially the young people, thank you for showing the world what determination, dignity, and unity can do. Green Rising is yours. Let's rise together. It is now my honor to invite to the stage the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Amour Motley.
Please sit. You know, everything is right about this morning and this place. Let me welcome all of you, distinguished guests, all, to my constituency, to the National Botanical Gardens, to a place where we have now memorialized the words of the former Prime Minister of Barbados, Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford. And for those who are not from here, we don't belong to the same political party. And I say this consciously because this stands above all partisan politics. Our efforts to be here really reflect what you referred to just now, George, the intergenerational solidarity, or as I would say, the relay race, the passing of the baton. And I referred to Sir Lloyd's Ode to the Environment, written specifically for the Rio Conference in 1994, because it is important for these young kids from St. Matthew's School in my constituency to recognize that not politics, nor race, nor age should separate us in doing good for the planet and for this country. And I say so because this is the example that we need to set in confronting major battles that are beyond our individual capacity to resolve. We must come together and we must rise together if we are to beat the clock that Akeem so brilliantly referred to in his speech. My brother, Kamau, wherever he is looking at you with a warm heart and with a confidence that his legacy is in good hands. And in a very real sense, that is all we're trying to do. Move from this being a one-one fight to a movement. Move from this being the preserve of a prime minister who, when he wrote the ode, became the butt of all kinds of negative commentary, because those who could not understand what he was saying chose to review on a narrow partisan basis that which was a major global issue that he was confronting ahead of his time. But as much as we want to praise him, and as much as I want to do the work that I am doing now, it will only mean something when it becomes a mass-based movement and when people's behavior change. And that behavioral change must start with our young people. We know that if we can win the battle with changing the behavior of our young people, then we can win the battle of shaping the future that we want to live in. And it is for this reason that I did not hesitate in accepting the responsibility to be the global chair for Green Rising. Because more than anything else, I want to see the young people of this planet, of this country, of this region, rise to claim that which is theirs. In a very real sense, those who wrote the national anthem of Barbados understood that when they reminded us that we will write our names on history's page with expectations great, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our fate. That really is the mission of Green Rising. And I say so conscious that we have been seeing our numbers expand, but nationally we are not yet where we want to be. Ironically, this morning, Ambassador Comijong sent me a TikTok video of a young lady from St. Vincent talking about how clean Barbados is and praising Barbados for the fact that there are garbage cans in front of each house. And I smiled, because as much as we have done in being able to make that distance, there is still distance for us to go with respect to those who don't see the garbage cans but see the gullies and believe that G is for gully and G is for garbage, without understanding that G is also for godliness, and godliness is next to cleanliness. I say to you that we have a responsibility to raise our children with the sensitivity in all that they do and in all that they say, respecting both our oceans and our lands. This botanical gardens here, this National Botanical Gardens, has been a labor of love and is nowhere near where it is supposed to be yet. But those who understand that in 2005, when I first approached Owen Arthur, and indicated that please acquire this just over 200 acres because there is no green space for the people of St. Michael. And in this country, almost 40% of the country's population lives in this single parish. And for us, prior to this National Botanical Gardens, the notion of green space was Queen's Park, which now looks like a drop in the ocean, a drop on the land, compared to what we now have here. And I want to thank my Minister of Environment, Adrian Ford, who has embraced the mission with passion, and who, perhaps even more than the green and the blue, has become the champion of biodiversity, recognizing that without biodiversity, us as humans will not live on an earth that is hospitable. And when you read Sir Lloyd's words, you begin to appreciate the interconnectedness and the absolute importance of us doing all that we can to protect everything that we can. And this requires public education. You heard George speak about people in Maldives having clubs to be able to help save the coral reefs. And we in this country need to move beyond the temple of our familiar and to recognize that those who must lead the charge in keeping Barbados clean and beautiful, in helping us to achieve mission number 1 by 2030, in helping us to lead through walking the walk and not just talking the talk, that if we can do these things, then we can inspire others that it is not only possible, but it is actually achievable. I today want to thank Generation Unlimited. I want to thank UNICEF. I want to thank Tia Tariq in her absence. I want to thank all who have made it possible. And in my own team, my permanent secretary and deputy permanent secretary, for lifting the weight, because this is just but a start. And Maria, you went with me earlier this year to Abu Dhabi when I had the honor of accepting the Zayed Award for Humanity. And with that award comes some funding. And I can think of no better cause to give some of this funding to. And therefore, I will commit to providing $500,000 US, $1 million Barbados dollars of the award that I received, half of that award to Green Rising, to ensure that the children of this country can truly benefit from being able, not just being sensitized to the importance of the environment in which they live, but that they can see and believe in the possibilities for enterprise to be able to help sustain our planet, our lands, our oceans, while at the same time creating a pathway for a living for themselves, for their future. And I make this point all the time as to what I think may be the one possible major movement in the next 2 to 3 years. Because so much has changed between the last COP and now. So much has changed with respect to those who are no longer, I should say, willing to walk the walk because they believe that there is space for them to jump off the ship. And there is space for them to become singularly focused on profits over people and planet, because the mood has changed in certain parts of the world in the same way that the temperature is rising in other parts of the world. And I, regrettably, don't like what we see. I don't like it. But I also am practical enough to know that it is what it is. And if it is what it is, then we must find common ground on which to forge a pathway from which we can develop progress in maintaining, at the very least, the measures necessary to protect the planet that we live on. And where does that come? We all know that methane, and I want the children in here to embrace this as a major part of the Green Rising movement locally and internationally. But I ask those in Barbados to lead it with me. We all know that methane is 80 times more dangerous than carbon. And we know how bad carbon is. The thing about carbon is that it will last for centuries in the atmosphere. But methane only lasts for 12 years. So the moment you stop the production of methane, the moment you can minimize the production of methane, you begin to give the earth and its lungs some breathing space again. And if we were ever to be so successful as to reduce it to near zero, the scientists tell us that we can reverse the temperatures between 0.3 degrees and 0.5 degrees. Not lurch forward, but reverse. As we would say in Barbados, carry it back. And for us, that is gold. For the planet that we are telling the rest of the world we need 1.5 to survive and thrive. The ability to take from 1.5, 0.3 to 0.5 is a major, major, major accomplishment. So what can we do to achieve it? Last week, Friday in Brazil, I called on President Lula as Brazil comes to take up COP30 to establish a coalition of leaders who believe in bringing a hard break. Last week, Monday of the same week, I called on President Macron in a bilateral to do the same thing as we work together to create the global solidarity on levies, recognizing that most countries do not have the capacity to finance their way to net zero. All the talk. If we recognize the sources of methane production, and this includes Barbados too, can go from one, landfills, and that's why I said it includes Barbados, two, livestock farming and rice paddy farming, and as forward thinking as Europe is on all things related to climate, the hard stop comes when you start to talk about agriculture and farming and livestock. And principles will only mean something when it is inconvenient to stand by them. And finally, the big one, the flaring of gas and the leaking of gas in the pipes of the world across this planet. But you know the thing? If you fix the pipes, you earn more money because you're monetizing that which was being leaked into the atmosphere or the ocean. And if you stop flaring the gas, you can monetize it and earn more money too. So that you end up having a win-win situation for those in the oil and gas industry and for the rest of us who want to save the planet. And that is why I say that the love language is perfect. Because it is the love language of those who want to save the planet, and it is the love language of those who want to be able to continue to make profits. It also, by being able to reverse the temperatures by 0.3 to 0.5 degrees, buys time for the oil and gas industry to be able to massively scale up to commercial scale the decarbonizing technology, which can be the salvation of not only that industry, but ultimately of the planet. And I say so because I am conscious that all countries will not be able to make the just green transition in time. And therefore, you are asking many developing countries to choose between people and planet. And I say so because you are asking them to abandon the other principles upon which the SDGs are based, the development of their people, in order to save the planet for all. And there are many countries in Africa and many countries across the developing world who say, you had the right to exploit oil and gas for a century or 2 centuries. And now that we have the chance to allow that to finance our people's development, to lift them out of poverty, and in equal terms, to help us finance our way to net zero, you want to shut me down before I can get off the ground. These things are not easy conversations. They are complex. But it is not beyond the human capacity to resolve it. And I genuinely believe that a movement that allows us to control methane and bring it to near zero by 2040 can be the solution for many of the world's problems today in terms of where we find ourselves. Fret not thyself. The first night I was elected in this constituency, there were showers of blessing. And every major event is accompanied by those showers. We thank you, the Lord, for helping to remind us of our blessings. So, my friends, I've taken the time this morning to explain in Barbados the methane issue. Because when I go to ask others across the world to help join us in this battle, I want to know that when I look back and when I look across, I have the young people of this great nation willing to stand up and willing to help fight the battles that will determine what kind of world you live in. And let me drive home why it is important. I spoke on Tuesday when we opened the Oceana Hub about Six Men's Village in St. Peter, where half of the village, all of the people who lived on the coastline no longer live there, where they could live there and play cricket between the houses and where the waves broke. Impossible. I speak, Chad, to the people in your constituency who would tell you that when they were growing up, the beaches all across St. James and St. Peter were wide. And now you have to struggle to navigate, walking the coast because of the degradation of the beaches as recent as the terror of Hurricane Beryl last July, when more than 6 foot of beach was taken on the southern portion of almost every beach on the west coast of this nation. I speak to the people of Africa, who when you look at a map of Africa, or when you fly over Africa and you see brown and brown and brown and brown across that wide swath of Africa, you begin to ask yourself, as I did when I traveled to the north of Ghana and saw the dust and the dust and the dust and the people who would love for this rain to fall, and then ask, how are they farming? How are they sustaining themselves? How are they creating opportunities for young people to stop the movement into cities? How can they survive? And then you wonder why there is the rise of terrorist groups, or there is the lack of satisfaction and belief in the democracies or in the countries that they live in, because they no longer have opportunities from the land and from the ocean to sustain themselves. My friends, this is what is at stake. And there are many who would try to poo-poo the government's determination to create a climate school of excellence, trying to make sure that those who want to work in these areas of the blue and green economy are given the earliest opportunity to do so from fourth form. And yes, there are other institutions that attract and that do this, like CERMES and Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology and all of these others. But they are not the ones preparing our children. And unless we prepare our children, and unless we get them to understand what is at stake, we will not win the battle to save this planet. So, with this launch this morning, I am extremely proud to, one, be associated with a program that, while it targets 5,000, or as we now say 12,000, we will raise the funding. We now have the $1 million US from Generation and Rising and the 500,000 US from my foundation, which will give these youngsters in Barbados 3 million Barbados dollars from which to draw to begin to start their enterprises. I want to put a board in place, an advisory board, and it will be shortly announced, comprising of those persons who have walked the walk, some of whom I'm looking at in the blue and green economy, to be the ones who will determine which projects and which businesses will be worthy of support. And I say so conscious that what I told you at the beginning of this speech must continue, that there shall be no intrusion of partisan considerations, no intrusion of gender considerations, no intrusion of age considerations other than being young. If you're 10 years old and you have a good project, you should be able to benefit. If you are 18, you should be able to benefit. So that I ask us to please embrace this movement and to recognize that the greatest movement known to Christianity tells us that where 2 or 3 are gathered in our name, good work is done. And I see many more than 2 or 3 here today, and many more than 2 or 3 globally. So let us to the task get on with the business of ensuring that the young people of this planet are the ones who will lead the charge to be able to make this one and only planet that we know habitable, but not just habitable, capable of sustaining enjoyable, healthy, and productive lives, and ensuring that we as humans do not succumb to the arrogance of believing that civilizations do not die and species do not become extinct, because there is history amidst us to show that in both instances, as Sir Lloyd reminded us, that civilizations do die and species do become extinct, and that if we do nothing, we too shall become a victim of that regrettable act. God bless Green Rising, and may you, the young people of this nation, have the passion to recognize that how you act each and every day will determine what type of life you have 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, and what type of life your children will equally enjoy. Thank you.
Go ahead.
You first?
Yeah, you first.
Well, I'm not too sure how I'm supposed to come after that amazing speech, off the top of like her head like that. I have my 4 little lines here, but I would just like to say thank you so much, Madam Prime Minister. You are a true inspiration to the people of Barbados, and as us as young people up here, we're just so thankful to have you. You're a true champion to us. You've helped us in so many different ways. And you've been such a great support to me and many other young people, and you really listen and take note of our ideas clearly by all the work that you've been doing for us. Thank you.
You're truly an inspiration and a role model, and we'd like to thank you for all that you have done for all of us and you're continuing to doing for us, and holding us to a standard that I hope each and every single one of us in this room and in the world is able to hold ourselves to.
And now, as this part of our proceedings comes to an end, we appreciate you all for attending and showing your commitment to giving us the tools that we need to meet the future in a safer and greener and more prosperous world.
So, as we continue, we hand over to Gabrielle Gay, Sustainable Development Goals Champion in the Prime Minister's Office and United Nations AIS Forum Ambassador for Barbados. She will give our closing remarks for today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, so after such a rousing and inspiring speech, it is my honor, it is my privilege on this most auspicious occasion to deliver the acknowledgements and our closing remarks. But before I get into the remarks, I need to hear from you. We just created history for climate action in Barbados and around the world. So if you are excited, let me hear you say yes. Yes. All right. Now, as we say in Barbados, we are cooking with gas. So moving on to our gratitude and acknowledgements, we wish to thank the Prime Minister, Honorable Mia Moore-Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados and Global Chair of Green Rising Initiative, government ministers, and all senior government officials, Generation Unlimited and all of your partners, United Nations head and partners, members of all high commissions and of the diplomatic corps, UNICEF Eastern Caribbean and UNICEF global representatives, the Prime Minister's Office, SDG's Barbados project, so ably spearheaded by Ms. Crystal Yearwood, and special mention to our special event coordinator, Mr. Darian Yearwood, because this event would not have been possible without the incredible PMO team. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you to Future Barbados, our UNICEF youth ambassadors, my fellow SDG champions, members of the third sector private organizations, performers and cultural artisans, our masters of ceremonies, Maria Marshall and Callan Aline, school principals and students who all graciously lent us your time today. You see, because today we launch more than a project. We launched a movement, one rooted in climate justice, driven by youth, powered by the SDGs, and by hope. Today, we launched a visionary movement that will see not 500, but 5,000 to 12,000, shout out to UNICEF, youth in Barbados who will be taught actionable, measurable impact and green action in their communities and in all areas. We're talking sports, agriculture, community engagement, whatever it is, Green Rising Project will support you. And this has been made all the more amazing by that $1 million Barbados investment by the Prime Minister and the government of Barbados. Let's put our hands together for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning. We had, as you well know, the Oceania Hub Climate School that just launched. We've got Green Rising. We have programs like the FEMLEX cohort with the Erling Bradshaw Foundation. We have so many programs here that are focused on catalyzing our youth for green action. This places green skills in our hands as young people, placing green skills in our communities as young people. So today, I close with this. Today, this is not just green rising. Today, this is Dreams Rising. Today, we're not just leaving here to plant trees, we are leaving to plant seeds. Seeds of education, seeds of power, seeds of community engagement that will bear fruit for multiple generations to come. So my final question to you is, what is your seed? How will your green rise? Will it be through policy? Will it be through advocacy? Will it be through volunteering for the Green Rising Project? Whatever you decide, remember that we will be working together, 5,000 strong, 10,000 strong, 11 million globally strong, for a better, greener, and more sustainable future for Barbados and beyond. I thank you for coming today.